The president and first lady are hosting the Houston Astros at the White House today.
The visit is a celebration of the team's 2022 World Series win. After the visit, President Biden will be traveling west to make stops in Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah over the next few days.
CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang joins us now. So, Weijia, first and foremost, give us a sense of why the president is making this trip out west. He definitely has an agenda when you look at what we know he's likely to talk about. Tell us more about it.
Jerika and Man, it is great to see you, and you are absolutely right. This is a little bit of official work for the White House, but there are also plenty of campaign events as well, as we've been talking about a lot on this show. The campaign really is just around the corner. So he does have several receptions and fundraisers, but he also has official events in all of the states that he is going to, mostly to tout his record, what he has done so far. He's going to be talking about the investments in conservation and protecting natural resources. He's also going to be talking about the Inflation Reduction Act and marking the one-year anniversary of the PACT Act, which the White House says is the most significant expansion of benefits and services for toxic exposed veterans and survivors, which of course is very near and dear to the president's heart because his son Bo was a victim after serving in the military. This visit is also really important, coming on the heels of a not so positive poll out by the Washington Post that actually shows the majority of Americans do not approve of the president's climate change policies, because one of the things we just talked about, the Inflation Reduction Act, aims to really hit hard at reducing carbon emissions with loads of money to do that. But the poll also shows that only about 3 in 10 Americans are even aware of what's in the Inflation Reduction Act and the fact that this money is coupled in there. And so I think that's one reason why the president continues to try to tout all of his legislative wins, especially heading into 2024.
Weijia, clearly many global issues the president is also dealing with. Let's talk a little bit about those warships. The U.S., we know, sent 4 destroyers to the coast of Alaska after Chinese and Russian warships were spotted in nearby waters. What more do we know about this?
That's right. We know that the U.S. sent 4 of those to the Aleutian Islands, which is near Alaska, because that's where these ships were observed. These are Chinese and Russian ships as part of a joint military exercise. And the Chinese embassy has responded to CBS News, saying essentially that this is, something that happens every year. This is not a surprise and has nothing to do with the current international and regional situations, which, of course, when you have the backdrop of what's unfolding in both Ukraine and Taiwan, makes this a different situation, makes this alarming when you look at it from, all the tensions that have arisen between these 3 countries, not to mention the fact that China and Russia militarily are aligned, and also those 2 leaders, Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin, have met before. And so I think so far the administration is monitoring this and not sounding any alarms necessarily, but certainly want to stress that they are watching this very carefully to make sure those ships do not do more than just monitor.
Yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of people are wondering, because we continue to see China and Russia sort of coming together. And you pretty much answered the next question I had for you. But is there anything that you believe is happening sort of behind the scenes in reference to what this signals when these 2 countries that are very powerful come together and do what is being described as something that's not that abnormal at this particular time?
Right. You're exactly right, Jerika, because that context is so important to understand what is unfolding alongside this and sort of the dominance that both China and Russia seek. In fact, the senator from Alaska said that this emphasizes, the dangers of authoritarianism. And he also called it unprecedented, just the size of this joint military operation. Again, we're talking about 11 ships. And so I think there is an awareness that this is not like before, even though these joint military exercises are not new. The goals of these two leaders have been very clear, especially when it comes to, Ukraine and Taiwan and their ambitions. It's also a reminder of how close they are to Alaska. And so this is something that the administration continues to try to navigate delicately, at least especially with China, to try to maintain that competitive relationship and make sure it doesn't turn into something beyond.
Yeah, we definitely don't want that.
That's right. Weijia Jiang, we thank you for your report.
Sure.